You are listening to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all the latest news, Overwatch League results, and mishaps in Overwatch. Here are your hosts, Totemly Drunk and Edinar.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all things Overwatch. I am your host, Tumbly Drunk, and tonight we have episode 185. We have a full house tonight as we do have a special guest, that being the Team Latvia head coach from this year's Overwatch World Cup, GGMentality. Mentality, thank you so much for taking some time out of this very early morning to guest on the podcast tonight. Good to have you.
Hello. I guess it's good morning. No, good evening.
Yeah, I mean, it's good evening in the States, but, you know, we're kind of, like, scattered across the globe at this point, but, you know, you're kind of used to it at this point since you have coached in NA teams before, so hopefully it's not too much of a rough adjustment for you.
Nope. All good dudes.
So, before we get into the news and introduce you to my co-host, let me just quickly take a moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight on Twitch for our live show, and of course I have to thank all of our repeat listeners. So joining me again, as always, is my co-host, Ed. And Ed, you know, we got some pretty major news that dropped literally right before the show. Probably only going to mention it in passing. We want to spend a good amount of time on that next week, but we do have a PTR update which has a lot of balance changes, primarily to the double barrier meta. But, you know, it's been a pretty hectic week, but how have you been?
I've been doing pretty good. I've been playing a lot of Hearthstone Battlegrounds. That's been my obsession lately. I actually guested on a podcast called Tier 5, and we went over... Well, really, the episode was like an hour and a half, and we talked about Hearthstone for a good 15 minutes. So, yeah. There was some talk about who's the cutest person in the NFL. You know, just get a little primer there. Hint, he used to be a quarterback for the Patriots. And then, you know, I've been playing a lot of Apex. We did some placements, and it did not go well. It 100. I'd never done placements on this account before, and I paired up with Totem, and we went over.
It was a rough night.
Yeah,
but
like,
yeah, my DPS placed higher
don't
than normal
blame
for some reason.
Don't blame the day.
Yeah, God, it was brutal. So I went 0-5, placed silver. I don't even know. It was rough, but I'm going to stick to arcade mystery heroes. It seems to be where I have the most luck. And like you said, we won't go really over any of the new patch notes till next week. But you know, it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of big things that I can't, for me personally, that I can't announce yet, but I will announce in the next like 2 weeks. So, how's your week been, Totem?
It's been pretty good. I've actually been streaming quite a lot here within the last week over on my primary channel. But, you know, we're really not here to talk about, like, how terrible our placements went, despite there being, like, a 500 SR differential between DPS and support, even though I haven't DPS'd in, like, 13 seasons. So that's the thing. So, some wacky stuff going on that front, but let's go ahead.
Ooh, I actually have a question first.
Sure.
This is for our guest. So, we're in northern United States. We're in, like, the cold of the cold. But you're north of us. Like, how cold is it by you right now?
Right now?
Yes.
Right.
Do you have,
now,
like, a lot of snow?
No, not a lot of snow. Let me check. What's the degrees outside? Oh, it's pretty warm actually. It's 10 degrees Celsius.
Oh, that's...
It's 52 Fahrenheit.
What the hell?
What?
I hear I'm thinking that it's like, oh, we're at 10 degrees Fahrenheit, negative something Celsius. God, we're colder than you. This is not how I expected this to go.
No.
Oh, we had like what? We had minus degrees last week during night, but today is like the warm winds are coming in. They're soothing our backs, you know.
There you go. So getting into the Overwatch news for this week, we do have a new short story that was written by Michael Chu, and this one is for Valkyrie, which of course is going to focus on Mercy, and we do have a tie-in event with this as well. So really, this story kind of features Mercy, Soldier 76, as well as Anna, and it's basically told from Mercy's perspective as she is currently working at an aid camp over in Cairo, Egypt. So at the end of this, we got a little bit of a tease in regards to a new Mercy skin, which will be unlocked via the ongoing challenge that we'll talk about here in just a few minutes. But, there's some interesting tidbits in regards to lore for Mercy here, and I know a lot of people have been craving, new content to consume on that front, especially since, Overwatch 2 probably quite a ways off at this point. So we find out that Mercy's parents had been volunteering at, this hospital over in Switzerland, and this was during the Omnic crisis, and both of them ended up getting killed in an airstrike when Mercy was a younger girl. So, at this point, this is after Overwatch had disbanded, Mercy's reputation is kinda completely shot at this point, and she's basically venturing out to aid Egypt, and that was because of Overwatch's responsibility in regards to just everything that happened in Cairo. So the country right now is suffering, and Mercy's taking it upon herself to, try to patch things up. So we kind of go back and forth in regards to the timeline here a little bit. We see a flashback where we have the first meeting between Mercy and Soldier 76. And, kind of goes into how she was, brought on to develop healing technologies for use off the battlefield, which really doesn't ever happen because they keep using it for their soldier program and whatnot. But it seems like a lot of this just ties in with another Talon attack, and 76 and Anna wanting to pursue Reaper, and of course Mercy opts not to go along with this. She decides to stay behind and just to continue her studies. But across the board, I don't know how I feel about this one in particular. Michael Chu has done, I think, one other short story at this point, but we've seen the developer team go out, and Blizzard in particular, and, hire in, very notable writers, and we're just not seeing them used in, the situations that we're used to seeing them in at this point. So I don't know why they keep kind of, flipping back and forth between using them and then not using them, but at least it coincides with something that we're able to get in-game at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this was a very oddly timed short story. Because, the main concept of this is she's, like you said, she's battling with herself to see if she wants to go back, help with the Omnic crisis. They released this after they told us she came back to help the Omnic crisis. You can't go back, it's like saying having a movie where somebody's like, I don't know if I need to go to war with these people or not after they go to war with the person. That is not how it works. Also, I'll be the bigger man and address the elephant in the room. The new skin is
basic,
but stripper basic.
Well, it's better than the Baptiste had the Baptiste skin.
Oh, it is better than the Baptiste one. I will give it that. It's not as good as the Anna one.
Yeah.
But it's already getting the what is it? What rule is it, Totem?
Oh wait, hold on. I'm finding the tweet that I sent to Omnic Post
God.
about this.
It's one of those things where this is just the second it was sent out, it was deemed Sexy Mercy. That is what it was called.
I got it.
This is Sexy Mercy?
Yeah.
This is what it reminded me of. I'll post it in the in Twitch chat. Because anytime I see Lab Coat Mercy, that's the first scene I see because of our great artists at work.
Exactly. You see that, and it's that is what that is what
that's the safer version.
Right?
Bro,
so
I would have actually played faster.
Right? So
I have 2 minutes of Mercy anyways, but I'll take it.
But it's what happens when you do the basic. It's the U.S. Halloween costume rule, as I like to call it, is you can have the most basic thing, and then it could be turned into just put sexy before it, and it's like sexy optometrist.
What the
No.
fuck is that?
Exactly. See, the thing is, you probably don't have this. We have
We
to
don't
deal
have
with it.
Halloween, dude. It's like
Oh.
2 people walking around, so.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a big thing. Riot police and everything. Well, at least where I live.
Not sure.
But it's just a bad skin. It's not as good as like 90% of her other skins.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. What did you think of did you read the short story Mentality?
The truth or the.
No, 100% truth. I did the Cliff Notes version. I breezed through it.
Probably the last lore thing I read was what Reinhardt the mini movie.
Okay.
So.
Which was one of the better ones.
The moment they made the soldiers now gay thing, I was like, I'm done with this shit. Not interested. Not because he's gay, but like you don't switch stories mid like it's no point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like 2 years later I'm gonna read they're gonna change something else. Like, sorry, dudes. It's like now we're gonna change this that. Fuck it.
Yeah, it'll be
When
interesting to
when you
see.
play, it's different.
It'll be interesting to see like if the PvE aspect with Overwatch 2 will pull you more into the lore, since it will be more focused on the game in itself.
Mentality is a big no on that one.
I tried it.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier because we tried it while we were out at BlizzCon too, and it's just like it's lore, but does it have replayability?
Right.
Well, it doesn't even like. I think they would be better off asking some of the Call of Duty guys to make like complete single player game.
Mm-hmm.
And fuck
do
it.
like a campaign.
Right.
At this point, it's like.
My hope was to get like a Red Dead Redemption type of game, like you have like kind of like an open world single player game
In Overwatch.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Well, you have to message what was the company that made Red Dead. I forgot. Maybe they'll do it.
Is it Rockstar? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think it was Rockstar that makes it.
It was Rockstar plus something, I think.
Rockstar making the greatest solo player games. Because don't they make Grand Theft Auto?
They do?
Yeah.
And that one game has been like as popular as World of Warcraft for the past 10 years.
Yeah. If
With
you
only
look at the
coming out with-
Blizzard's account, how many single player games they have.
Right on.
Yeah.
So, of course, with the short sword, we also had the Mercy Recall Challenge, which is live across all the platforms at this point. So the challenge in itself will be running until December 2nd, so fans will be able to unlock Mercy-themed rewards by winning games either in quick play, competitive, if you're not Ed and I, or arcade mode, which is where we'll be doing ours, I'm sure, just locking them all out tomorrow, if we're not on the PTR. But players will basically be unlocking rewards for every 3 wins that they get, and then you can get a Dr. Ziegler player icon. There is a couple of sprays, as well as the skin that was teased at the end of the short story. So, this is pretty much just like we've seen with some of the other challenges. They also have kind of like the Twitch tie-in, where if you watch, for like, I think up to 6 hours, you can unlock some additional sprays that are also Mercy themed as well. So just as a reminder, if you haven't yet, you have to make sure that you have your Battle.net account linked with your Twitch account in order to get the rewards in-game. But you'll get up to 6 additional sprays, with 2 being unlocked every 2 hours up to this point. So I have to say, with most of the time, these challenges are pretty run-of-the-mill. I wasn't, overly ecstatic about many of the cosmetics that we're getting with the sprays. There is kind of, the one where, Mercy's, kind of, pouting, where she's just, tired of your shit, and I got a good laugh out of that one in particular, but, that was about it for me on this front.
Yeah, I mean, I could care less about the sprays.
I was thinking the same.
Like, I like the skins, but the sprays, I usually I mean, I'm not good enough to taunt people with sprays, for starters. So the only time I use sprays is when I'm spraying it on the door right before we're about to spawn. And that's about it. So sprays mean not that much to me. But I still have a Twitch stream. Like right now, I have a Twitch stream up in the background. Like IDDQD, I'm watching right now, or I have up, and just so I can get it. It just it's a collection type of thing.
Yeah, basically, they just have to be playing Overwatch or tagged for Overwatch, and drops will be enabled. So it doesn't have to be like one of the featured streamers or anything like that to unlock the sprays here.
Yep, that's a new thing they're doing now. Instead of just having individual streamers that you have to watch. I think they started this with the Hearthstone early access battleground beta, where anyone who could stream Overwatch or Hearthstone, and they could, as long as they have drops enabled, their viewers would be able to get the drops.
Right on. So, outside of that, like, there's something else that's kind of been in the works that was kind of scrapped at one point, and that was a pain system being introduced in Overwatch. So, of course, we had our deaf and savior, Papa Jeffrey Capcap, praise him. He actually sat down with Samito for an interview back at BlizzCon, and he noted that the lead UI designer, Junho Jim, wanted to experiment with a pain system again, but this time for Overwatch 2. So initially this was scrapped entirely from the base game, but it looks like this is going to be something that they will revisit. And of course, this kind of came to the forefront kind of like when Apex Legends came out, since that introduced that to the BR genre, allowing players to like communicate, pain items or, enemies that were on the map, things like that. And there's some talk about like whether or not this would just be exclusive to the PvE content. But I can imagine that there would be a number of issues that could arise should they try to incorporate this into the actual PvP side of the game. But Mentality, I want to get your thoughts on what a pain system would actually do from that player versus player perspective. Like, is that something that you would want to help easily communicate like focus targets or anything like that?
Do it. There's no reason not to make it. Like, I guess I read somewhere that Blizzard's concern in itself was the people will spam it, that kind of stuff, and it will clutter the game. Well, the game is cluttered anyways, so. But I guess Apex would have at least the same concerns initially. But I think it's way more useful than actually the useless voice lines you have right now. It's like people on me, something like that doesn't mean anything. And mid fight, I would rather see a huge X on a guy, because then at least people who don't speak, like for me, it's not a problem because I'm like I press the button, I'm coming in the game, I don't care. But for people who are shy to speak or don't want to or don't have a mic, I think that's like, in terms of cooperation, it should increase the quality of the game itself, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's worth noting too, like, if they're worried about spam, they could just do what they did with like some of the voice lines, where after you spam it like 3 or 4 times, like, it has a cooldown of like 5 seconds.
Well, make it cool down like 2 seconds from the start and then like block it for 5 after 3 times. Easy fix. Fight doesn't last that long.
I would actually really like them to do, because like, all right, for Apex you have this single ping, which is just like, hey, let's go look over here, or hey, here's this item. Well, that's not an issue with Overwatch PvP. Like, you're not like, hey, here's a gun for you. Like, you already have all that stuff. So I want the single ping to like be like, okay, we have a flanker over here, or somebody's coming from this point. I want the double ping to be, and this might be complicated, but if you have like a shot caller on a team, double ping the concentrated target.
who's gonna decide who's shot calling? That's
This is more from like a pro point, like because most teams have like
pros don't care. They have comms though.
Yeah, like they have comms, but sometimes visual is just as easy as. But I mean something other than just ping over here, ping over here. They could do a bunch of different things with the ping system. All I care about is them implementing it, because it is going to make things so much easier.
Technically, you need one. In Overwatch, you need. In Overwatch, you need what? You need the ping for the look here. There's something here, which is usually guy flanking or something.
Mm-hmm.
You need to shoot this guy, and then you need like push or back out. That's it. It's four icons. You don't need more, like to make game work in basics.
And that would get rid of a lot of, like, at least for the non-higher up, it would relieve some of the, okay, you don't feel required to talk in, because some people have anxiety or don't want to talk, but they're more than happy to use the ping system. And that way you can actually communicate with people, and games will be better if you can actually be like, let's go this way. Let's go this way. Or there's somebody coming over here, but I'm the only one who saw it. Or there's somebody behind, they just killed me. Attack them.
Yeah, and plus too, like even going back to like workshop modes, we have seen community members creating systems like this for the game as well. So it's not like the resources aren't available to the developers up at this point. But we'll have to wait and see whether or not this will actually see the light of day. But we can definitely see the use in it in regards to PvP. But it does open up the door to have it across the board, both for PvE content as well as PvP content going into the future for the sequel, expansion, whatever you want to label it, since they're redefining what a sequel is.
Right. I also
you call it reskin, by the way.
Yes. I want to also say one thing they need to add with it is the ability to ping when you're dead before you spawn. I like being able to, like, so for like Apex, when you die, you can ping where the enemy is that just killed you.
Mean like during kill cam?
Yeah, during kill cam.
Yeah,
so like if like a widow takes you out and nobody knows where the hell the widow is, you can ping nice like they just headshot me from here, and so on and so forth. I want them to add that.
Yeah, I thought you mean like while you're spectating others.
No, not while spectating. That would be abused. Just a little. I would still lose.
Yeah, I mean, you need all the advantages that you can get at this point. But let's talk a little bit about what's been going down in regards to the Path to Pro and the Overwatch League. So actually quite a bit going on. No surprise, it's off-season. But we do have another Academy team that has announced that they are going on hiatus. And this time, it is XL2 Academy. So as of this moment, all of their players and their coaching staff have become free agents. And this is the fourth Academy team to either go on hiatus or disband this year. So XL2 is following in the footsteps of teams like Energy Esports, Mayhem Academy, Eternal Academy, and it's worth noting, like, this is a team who just finished as a runner-ups in the 2019 Season 2 in the North America West, and they finished in the top 6 during the Gauntlet, which was that inter-regional competition for contenders at the end of the year, and this team has basically been making the playoffs in every single season since they started competing, having 3 top 4 finishes along the way here. So basically, like, right now we really don't know like any of the landing spots for any of their members yet, but we do know that Bianca has been linked to signing with the New York Excelsior, but it's not made official as of yet. But there's been a long-standing tradition in regards to Tier 2 with lighting candles, or having, like, the knockout bingo cards with, like, the team names. And I hate to say it, but it might be time to bring that back. Because things are pretty rough out there right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is just another team that we saw bite the dust, and it wasn't bite the dust because they suck so bad. Because like you saw Paris Eternals team, they got knocked down out of contenders.
It didn't exist, by the way. I was talking to some people in Europe. There was no such team.
And then Mayhem was another team, and it's just it's not it's for a lot of these like Overwatch League teams, it's probably not that profitable for them, or it's not profitable for them at all, and it's not working out the same way that they might have thought it would be, like a minor league system for them when they don't have to pay for it. But that's just mine. But I mean, mentality. You've coached in contenders, so like, what is it like down there? Like coaching and dealing with like all this kind of stuff, knowing that teams are going to disband left and right, kind of like what we're seeing.
Well, teams itself mostly don't disband unless they lose trials, I guess. Or drop out, I would rather say. If they drop out of contenders, then it's usually rebuilds. Good seeing academies go, that's really sad. But yeah, there was in some conversations behind the curtains. There's been memes about this is the year of retirement for the Overwatch. Like it's not just tier 2; it's like pros going off, and everybody's like, "I'm out," basically. But I guess I understand the business point of it, because if we check the viewership, I have no clue how they make money in contenders unless you're winning everything. Because considering you have to pay for what minimum usually, well, let's put the average would be $1,000, I guess, like the good baseline salary. So it's what 9,000 a month just to keep people around for a year. It's almost 100K. I'm not sure, like, you need to win one season, I guess, to get the money back. And if we look at it, how many people have actually like brought up the talent from their like air quotes farm club, if we talk in like classic sports kind of terms. And yeah, it's really sad. Like, my biggest concern in itself is we have, like, they've branded this path to pro, but right now it's basically like you are deleting the middle floor of the pyramid. Like, you're just deleting. There's no way you can, like, I don't know. I'm worried how they will sustain in the future, like in terms of, because in most esports, like, either they have to change something so actual endemic orgs are interested coming in to contenders. I don't know, like, just make less, like, slower seasons, or like less time in seasons, make more tournaments, no like regulations regarding sponsors, I guess. So there's some money going into that, but yeah, right now it's rough. Like, what last, like, this year, 2019, average, like, the bottom tier contenders teams would get what? It's 11.6K for a season. So most teams don't pay coaches, so I guess it's not that horrible. You get what, around 2K per person, but it's still 3 months. 3 months, 2K. It's kind of rough if you have to do, like, because if you want to compete, you have to still put in the 8 hours, 12 hours a day. So I don't know. I really don't know how they imagine that, like, sustaining this kind of outlook into that.
Especially with the big thing that everyone kind of knows about is the lack of support that like the Overwatch League or the Overwatch team and Blizzard as a whole kind of gives to the tier 2 scene. Like, they don't even, like, even when Overwatch League isn't playing, they're not even like streaming tier 2 games.
That's not completely true.
Sometimes they are, but like a lot of the times they're not, or they're not featuring them on the Blizzard launcher. Like they did once, and they had like 11,000 viewers, which is 5,000 more. I think me and Totem talked about this. It's just they could support without giving that much money. They could support the tier 2 scene a lot more than they currently are. So it's one of those things I just don't get how it can be sustained until hopefully a lot of these teams are more financially stable and they're earning more money to kind of offset the cost of having a contenders team. And maybe Blizzard forcing each team to have one. I mean, like, you guys need to have one.
Next year. Not
next year.
Unfortunately, I don't know what's gonna happen after that because
everything's up in the air. I mean, they're still getting paid, they're still getting viewers, but I don't know how the tier 2 scene or tier 3 scene outside of Korea. I still feel the Korea tier 2 scene is fairly strong.
Oh, Korea is completely different beast. I don't think.
Yeah,
it's its own ecosystem basically.
Yeah.
They have so much money in esports that I don't think the whole world combined can sustain that thing.
Mm-hmm. But like, I mean, in Europe, and for the most part, you know, NA, I don't know how we can sustain not just Overwatch League teams, but tier 2 Overwatch teams. So,
well, on bunch of crazy kids, madmen, who are willing to starve, eat what's the name, the Rotten soups, and live in the basement and try to get good. That's how you sustain it. Simple.
That's how you sustain it.
I don't know how you get, like, I'm kind of idealistic in terms of when I go to sports because I have like classic sports background for like almost my whole life, and for me it's like when I talk about leagues, I imagine that it's usually the best of the best that get up there, but if you can't get food, like if you cannot survive, right? If you die trying doing that, like playing contenders, for example, at this day and age, I don't think that actually the best out of the best get up there. It's more of like they are good, but how damaged they are to actually keep doing that for long enough period to make it.
Yeah, because, you know, the grind really can wear down mentality-wise. But, you know, outside of that, you know, we also have some Overwatch League games coming up, kind of like off-season in regards to the Chinese teams, because we do have an invitational that's being hosted over in Shanghai. So this is at the Shanghai Masters Invitational, so we'll have the Shanghai Dragons, the Hangzhou Spark, Chengdu Hunters, and the Guangzhou Charge in a single elimination bracket to determine the best team in China. So this is going to be best of 5 games, with the finals move into best of 7. So obviously, right now we are in the off-season period. Some of these teams are going to be a lot more different than others. Like for Hunters, for example, basically have their entire team back this year, so really not too many changes on that front. But we do have a number of changes outside of, you know, the Dragons and the Charge here. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on if this is going to be like a good idea of like what we can expect from like these homestand events moving forward, and like what we expect to actually see from these teams, since this is more of a show match as opposed to like an actual Overwatch League match. It's more scrim.
Well, I mean, for me, it's more along the lines of this is the first time we're going to see actual Overwatch League matches or players play each other in China. And we've seen the videos, whether you believe them or not, of like watch parties out there for the Spark, for, you know, the Charge, teams like that. So I'm very interested to see is how crazy these matches can be from a fan, like the amount of fans that come there and all that stuff. Because we're not going to get like that great of matches. I mean, Shanghai doesn't even have a main tank that we know of. But they're not very good at telling us who's going to be on what team, because that was supposed to be out earlier this week on who was a free agent and who's not, and we haven't heard anything there. And I don't even know if the Charge have 6 players on the team that they've announced. So I'm interested to see more of the fan turnout because China is going to be a massive market for the Overwatch League going forwards for sustainability. Just from a pure money standpoint, money coming in and things like that. Also, we're probably going to find out who's going to be on these teams. Like, we'll probably find out who's going to be the Shanghai Dragons main tank. They just walk out on stage, like Fate just walks out on stage with them. Be like, oh, there it is. But yeah, no, I'm interested to watch the VODs of this because there's no way in hell I'm waking up in the middle of the night to watch an exhibition match.
Maybe they will be competitive.
I mean, they could be competitive. I don't know. I mean, the Spark are going to dominate. That's all I know.
Why?
Because the Spark are awesome.
Okay.
Bang, bang.
Okay.
Come on, who doesn't love Gushui? Gushui's an icon.
Okay.
You're killing me, mentality. You're killing me.
Bro, it's all opinions.
My opinion is the Outlaws suck.
I mean, in the long run,
that's everybody's opinion, though.
In the long run, though, does being the best team in China really mean anything if it's an exhibition?
Being the best
there's
team.
some money up for grabs, right?
I believe there should be.
5 million RMB. I have no clue
what. That was like I think across all the titles. I don't know if they announced what it was specifically for the Overwatch part.
I want to know. That's $712,000 US.
Yeah, but they were doing like other esports titles there.
Oh, okay. I was gonna be like.
Yeah, we don't know like what the split is on that front.
Unlucky.
Oh.
Well, I guess worst case scenario we know is it how many of the Chinese viewers for Overwatch League are bots. So.
This is true.
So, all right, how out of place is Nero at this whole thing? Like the only non-Asian, like Chinese, South Korean player to be playing over there. He just is so out of place on that Charge team.
I don't know. Why wouldn't he? It's fine. We are all inclusive here, right? It's Overwatch.
Yeah, I know, but I want Nero on the Gladiators.
Why?
Because I really like Nero, and I want to be able to watch him without waking up at 3 a.m.
Yeah, but aren't like Gladiators sucking dick enough badly already? So
I don't know. They got space. Space is good.
It's more of, we don't know what the DPS is going to look like yet.
Yeah, I mean, they have
Bird right now is DPS is like Sinatra solo carried. Well, not solo carried, but Sinatra did like 70% of Shock's victory.
Sinatra and then Rascal being able to flex to basically whatever the hell they needed. Yeah.
Rascal in Shock?
Yeah. He was their Baptiste. He was their Baptiste and their Brig player.
Yeah, I guess.
But he was basically their flex to whatever they needed. Rascal could do it. But Sinatra was a hard carry on that team. Not Super. Anyone who says Super. No.
Super is pretty good main tank though.
He's a pretty good main tank, but he wasn't the carry. Like the aggressive Zarya was the carry for them.
Damage.
Well, that's what happens when 3/4 of the season revolves around tanks.
Well, still, I think the last season they rolled everybody as well. So, and it was 2 tanks there.
Absolutely. All right, so obviously right now we got a couple of important contract dates coming up in regards to the sign-in window. One of them has already happened, which was on Monday. That was when the 2019 season agreements came to an end. So any players that are not under contract into the 2020 season are officially free agents at this point. And then looking ahead, in a couple of days by Friday, teams need to have a minimum of 8 players under contract. That would be by November 15th. So I know a couple of teams are still under that, a couple of teams still making announcements. It's probably going to be an ongoing thing for quite some time at this point. But we're basically going to go like team by team and just see what all has changed since our prior episode. Obviously, last week, and we had a ton of stuff because there was like a week and a half gap because of BlizzCon and traveling, all of that good stuff. So let's start with Atlanta. What's been going down over on the Reign side of things?
You're muted.
He's
dude.
muted.
I did it again. I made it halfway through. All right.
Did you?
So halfway-ish. So they released Daco, which not surprising to anyone. They had favored FRD or Bird, and then Gator. So I mean, nobody's surprised by this. Endlayer got released as well, which was a little surprising, but he wasn't truly the starter with Baby Bay and Erster there. But one that I don't think a lot of people really saw coming is they signed Edison from GC Busan Wave to play DPS, assuming with Erster.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about this. Edison kind of flew under the radar primarily because he wasn't on one of the top Korean teams, even though he has all of like, he was like labeled a prodigy DPS really early, like most Korean talent out there. But you know, Rain are in this really weird position where they're flex DPS between Erster and Edison at this point. Both are known for specializing on one role, but are known to like move between projectile and hit scan, so they're in like a different position compared to these other teams where between the two of them they could probably flex at just about any combination that this team is going to need. So for me it really just becomes a question of, well, what's going to be the plan in regards to using Baby Bay at this point, or even if he was picked up on team option at this point, because that's still an unknown right now. But, you know, Daco getting released, not too much of a surprise. They did promote Hawk from ATL Academy. And, you know, even during the season, Daco was kind of just held in the basement. We saw FRD coming in quite a bit on that front. But, you know, I will say in regards to Endlayer, it's been kind of a rough go for Russian DPS players this offseason. So we'll see if they find a new home here.
Yeah, I'm interested to see them. What about you, Mentality? Anything about these moves?
I don't have any specific opinion about the players. I guess they are doing like bigger revamp because they released some of the staff as well, right? I think one of the coaches went right. Was a lot, I think.
Could have been. There were so many coaching changes
So
in like
yeah, that's what I mean.
In a 1.5 week span. You're just like, okay,
Everybody's like, you're out, guys.
yeah. It looks like they got rid of Justin and Casaurus, their player development coach, got released at the end of October. But they didn't release their head coach or assistant coach or anything like that. That's still the same. So it'll be interesting. It will be interesting to see how much the fans love the Atlanta Reign this year with no Defran at the start to build up like the player base.
Well, as long as Dogman keeps yelling at people for feed-in the middle of a game, I'm sure it'll be okay.
Yeah, we'll go with that. All right, next team.
So we have the Boston Uprising, who have promoted 2 players from Uprising Academy. So they promoted Swimmer, and then Mufin has moved to a 2-way contract. So not a full promotion as of yet, which kinda tells you they're probably going to be calling up Punk from Uprising Academy to be their off-tank full-time at this point.
I mean, who really knows at this point with Boston? Like, for
Also,
all we
it's,
know,
like, sketchy as fuck. I don't understand how they're doing things.
it's just like you don't know half the people they sign to their team, and then they do semi well, and then they just trade them off, and then they sign some other no name. Like, we think Punk's gonna get called up, but they're probably gonna sign some tier 3 tank from Brazil and
Why?
be like, it's because it's Boston, because they can pay them $50,000 instead of
For an off-tank from
$55,000.
Brazil.
Yep.
I wouldn't pay 10,000 for that.
But it's just the way that Boston runs. Like, they're not bottom of the barrel teams, but they're not winning championships. But they're making money off of like signing low, selling high.
It's called business well done, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
At least one of the teams in Norwich League is making money.
Right? Oh, and then their owners taking all the money and going to get rubbing tugs.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Mm-hmm. Like,
You can't judge. They own
that was a big scandal. I'm like, good for you.
whatever floats your boat.
Exactly. I mean,
I'm not judging.
granted, it's also illegal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's illegal here.
Oh,
I know, right?
unlucky. In Soviet Latvia, everything is legal, dude. If you want bad enough, everything is legal.
I do like the swimmer signing. I do like
really?
him signing. I do like swimmer.
It's because, like, it's a true story for Ed being, like, someone in, like, 1600 SR at one point.
Climbing their way up.
The only difference is you're not climbing your way out of the hole that you're in.
So you're saying there's a chance?
No.
No?
No.
Damn it.
Probably if you sink in some couple of thousand hours within a couple of months.
Fair. Yeah, I can't do that.
I'm
But,
not a swimmer, but I guess it's Boston thing, so.
Mm-hmm. So, and the fact that they got Senior Bong, my Bong, that's what I'm just calling him,
Yeah.
my Bong, was crazy. And to pair with Swimmer, because I'm assuming that will be their support line. And I mean, I still like Color Hex as a DPS. Fusions, I'm about. But yeah,
if Ryan is meta, they will be like, he might go.
Yeah, especially with like, I can only imagine with the Rhine changes, aggressive Rhines are going to be some of the funnest people to watch, because now you can literally be more aggressive. Yeah, I mean, it worked for Bumper for the first like 3 stages.
Yeah, because people didn't know how the game works.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see Fissure whenever he officially signs with the Titans. how he does there with the new Rhine. But it's Boston. It's one of those things where they are.
Why would they sign? What did Bumper go out?
They're
not officially.
Not officially, but it's now rumored that they're trying to trade him.
Really?
But they did get rid of Tizzy.
They got rid of Tizzy.
Well, Tizzy was. He has questionable play choices, even in contenders.
Yeah.
And watching the finals, yeah.
Yeah, I think the rumor is they're bringing in Fissure and they're getting rid of Bumper. That's the rumor right now.
I can't see that because like that's too much of a gamble at this case.
I think Bumper is actually pretty okay. I'm like obviously no clue what's happening inside their heads or like inside.
Mm-hmm.
But he was pretty okay.
Like, yeah, I think they were talking bringing in, what was it, Jae-Hong and Fissure onto the Titans.
Okay.
That's at least the rumor mill I heard that was going around. But who knows if that actually occurs. And then the next team we want to talk about is one of the signings that legit nobody spoiled. And nobody saw coming. And that was with the Dallas Fuel signing Doa, the Element Mystic Flex DPS, to pair with Decay. So they basically said, screw you to all our DPS players. We're going to bring in...
smart decision.
It was a smart decision. And you bring in Decay, who I'm like is probably one of my favorite players in the league. Even before he came into the league, I loved him in Contenders. And they bring in Doa to make a pretty formidable DPS lineup down there in Dallas, in theory, depending on the meta.
It's almost like Dallas is a new team now, since they actually have DPS.
Maybe they decided they will try to actually win something this season.
Yeah, they're going. See, what they did is they passed off the. We're gonna get the streamer support team. That's now the Toronto Defiant.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna get a real team now.
Okay, finally.
And
There's like 2 years in there, like
they're like
maybe going for the clout is not the profitable way. So fuck
Yeah.
it, boys. Let's try win some money.
right? Like we're gonna go ahead and bring in Gamsu and Note, who I actually really liked as a tank line with Boston. But now I think that's a good tank line for them in Dallas. Now they have these two DPS, and then Closure and Unco. They're not bad support line. I don't think they're top notch, but they're middle of the road support line. But I think they're an above average team now, and that hurts me on the inside to say.
Why?
Like, because I've been very anti Dallas and anti Houston.
Dave Jane, how can you be anti-Dallas, dude?
Uh,
Fuck Houston. Nobody cares.
because all right,
The
so
only time they win games was when triple DPS was thing for like what 2 weeks.
mhm.
Or if you played
the-
someone by accident, you can't forget that.
yes, when Houston accidentally put in Dante and they won. No, we have this thing with. There's a lot of other Overwatch podcasters that really like Dallas and Houston, and I like to spite them by making fun of their favorite teams.
You're that guy.
I'm that guy.
I get it.
and I'm totally
I completely get it.
Mm-hmm.
He serves the
So-
fun, basically.
Fuck Dallas, fuck Houston. I get
There we go.
it. Clip it, send it to Jane.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
I like Jane, but I've not been an Arrow fan as of yet. He was
Well-
great in Contenders with Fusion with FU.
Well, it's because he had streamer team. Maybe he can do something now when he has actual players on the
He
roster.
has a real team. That's why
Yeah.
I actually told this to Totem the other day, like 2 days ago. I'm like, after they signed Doa, I'm like, if they're in the bottom like 7, 8 halfway through the season, you got to replace Arrow.
Oh, I think the whole coaching staff will go to shit if they
Like-
can do anything.
Yeah, now that they have like a legit team, if they still suck, then you have to start looking at the coaching, and that's in all sports. Like if you have a team that was put together that was supposed to be very good, and they just do nothing, it falls on the coaches.
What they had, the only time they were doing decent was when the like Brigida first came out. They
Right.
had the magic run, right? For
Yeah, but
Couple
because they were the
weeks.
only ones running
yeah,
them with
but
Mickey.
I'm not sure I'm not sure it's warrants like the rest of the things that happened. It was,
No,
like,
I'm not
pretty
giving
much
them that
pure,
one.
pure luck. I would say.
Mhm.
Yeah, so Doha is basically going to be coming in and kind of playing a similar role to what he did on Element Mystic, being the complementary DPS to, in this case, Decay, as opposed to Sparkle, like it was at Element Mystic. But, you know, we've seen Element Mystic pieces falling left and right. I know they also announced a roster on their side of things. But he's bringing in Reaper, Doomfist, Hanzo, and Genji. So, you know, should be a much more effective 1-2 punch combo, a lot more flexible DPS options for the Dallas Fuel. So, you know, I don't know what that's going to mean for Zach, AKM, and Taimu. Probably means they're going to be right in the bench even more up to this point. But, you know,
Paid
it does...
vacation, guys. Paid vacation.
Yeah.
I mean, I can still see Zachary finding a niche role, like
Didn't they let him go?
No. Like
They
he can
announced that
find.
he's going, no?
I don't
thought
think
they
they
did.
did.
No, I don't think they got rid of Zachary.
Okay, I missed something then.
I can see him finding like a niche role, like if he
Bastion.
concentrates on one character and they bring him in for certain maps. That I could see. Like Taimu, it might be their Widow player.
I'm not sure he is actually like how long he's been sitting on a bench for what 1.5 season.
Uh, like 1 season, and then like he played a little bit of Tank Moo.
Winston.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, and then
like
he
Winston.
played like a
It
map.
trust me, it didn't help his video, dude.
It was
Doesn't-
Taimu and
doesn't help
Siegel
Widow.
were the tank duo in
Oh.
Dallas.
Yeah,
That
played a
was,
map against like New York too, but like that was it. Outside of that,
Mm-hmm.
I think, I don't know. I guess let's assume they have reason for keeping him there.
Because they can't get out of his contract.
I'm not clue what they've signed, but I really hope he plays. Like he used to have like really good video.
Oh yeah, he used
How
to be the
good
most.
video will be though is I'm not sure that video is gonna come back that fast. So
yeah, especially when there's more widow changes on the PTR now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure it's gonna affect the video mostly, but
Yeah,
problem
until you get rid of more. Widow will be prevalent if Shields kind of dies down.
even then, like there's always the dive. Again.
Yeah.
So moving on to Florida, not too much going on there. We do know that they picked up Gargoyle from his team option, so he's set to return. Which, Ed, I know you and I are both ecstatic about that. But there's a lot of stuff going on in regards to the rumor mill with Florida, which I know Halo Thoughts has been reporting on, so it looks like they might be getting a little bit of a certain pink and blue team.
Yeah. Like I'm a big Gargoyle fan. I think Stage 4 he really kind of came out of his own and played very well as an off tank. Showed that it was a good pickup and it's worthy of him actually coming back next year, earning his spot. But yeah, like you said, the rumors are like the Florida Mayhem are going to be signing some of Runaway. So I think the rumors are they're going to sign the Runaway support gang. Oh, what's his name? Gangnam Maji or whatever. Yeah, sure. We'll go with that.
You're close.
Petition, guys, please make spellable nicknames. Dude.
Yes, and then they're also going to be signing the runaway DPS Yaki, to add to BQB and to Saya player. So they're bringing in some they're bringing in some runaway players, some good contenders players to go with Gargoyle and Fate on the tank line. And then they have like with Yaki and BQB and Saya player, that's a pretty decent DPS lineup. I'm just interested to see what they actually do with the support line. Because I know they got rid of.
I haven't seen one game. I'll be honest. I haven't seen a single game from Mayhem.
They are the ultimate like what the hell are they doing team.
Oh.
So like beginning of
Shanghai season 1.
Yeah. So beginning of season 2, they're like we're not going all Korean. After stage 1, they're like, well, we're going all Korean. And then they signed a bunch of Korean players that like borderline tier 2, tier 3 players. It was budget Korean players.
They don't know that like Korean doesn't mean you win games instantly.
Mm-hmm. But they got some decent players out of it. They got Gargoyle out of it, which was good. I did like BQB. And then they made then all of a sudden they're like, okay, we're gonna get Fate from the Valiant. Like, where did this come from? Then all of a sudden they only lose one map in stage 4. Or one match in stage 4. Like what weird like you are the bottom team in the Overwatch League, and then stage 4 you only lose one map.
Well, it's the same story as Fuel, right?
Justice did them and the Justice were like 2 of the top 5 teams in stage 4, but they were the bottom 2 teams for the season.
Yeah, they were all drinking the Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see what they do with their support line. They could be a pretty decent team next year. And then after that we have the Guangzhou Charge, who did a lot but didn't do a lot. Like, so they picked up the options for Shu, Happy, Eileen, and Nero, which honestly, not a surprise whatsoever on any of that. They released Fraggy, Bishu, Only Wish, and Hotba. The Hotba release was a little surprising to me. Maybe he priced himself out of re-signing with the Charge and could go to another team. And then Rise, who was a rising star, that was a good one. Officially retired from the Overwatch League.
I'm glad Mentality wasn't here to actually hear that.
Fair enough. But he officially retired at the ripe old age of 18 from the Overwatch League. So the Charge really have. I don't know what that team is right now. Because, I mean, they have no flex tank. They have their 2 supports. They have the 3 DPS. We have Eileen, Happy, and Nero. Which is funny because it's like you have 1 US player, 1 Korean player, 1 Chinese player.
Mm-hmm.
They have no off tank. No off tank. And Rio wasn't that special of a main tank. So the Charge, I don't know what the Charge are going to do. They got to have some signings coming up.
There are a lot of reports that Neptuno is signing with the Charge, so like seeing Only Wish getting released wasn't too much of a surprise on that front. It does kind of like spoil the X Fusion reunited of Fraggy and Neptuno in this case now. But for me, like Hotba being released was kind of the big surprise here. There was maybe a little bit concerned about like what his flexibility would be once 222 was implemented, but he was still an integral part of that roster even beyond that point. So I don't think he's going to have an issue finding a new home on that front. But like Shu's really kind of been the person that's been throwing everything off because not that many people expected him to be as good as he was this past year. So to see someone like Rise, or formerly known as Lee Jae-gon, having to retire at like 18 and just not really having the opportunity to compete here is honestly just a shame because he was one of the more hyped up flex supports coming into the league on this team. But he's basically retiring. He's going to pursue his studies. But I am happy to see that they are keeping that DPS core intact, especially when we saw the flexibility of Nero really coming into play there in the later stages of the season.
Yeah, it will be interesting. And I'm just going to throw this out there because it's a name that has not been actually talked about that much lately since he left. What about Meko?
What about him?
I mean, he doesn't have a team right now. He would fit in with the Charge, who have no off tank, but a major like the majority of the team is Korean. He would be closer to home. I mean, it makes sense because I can't think of really any other teams that might sign Meko outside maybe Paris.
Well, it's a matter of can they afford Meko. He might have priced himself out.
All Korean now.
They're gonna go like 75% Korean in Paris. Yeah.
The moment it's like there's 2 European teams.
I mean, London's basically started from scratch, though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they are signing Koreans though.
Mm-hmm.
Still.
I mean, I apologize for this mentality, but there is a running gag on this show where I say "suck it, EU," because you can't even you talk all this game about how we invented goats, and then you get crushed.
You didn't invent goats, I think.
The players were talking. What was it for? What contenders matchup was that? Was it the Gauntlet qualifiers? And then they just got crushed in it. And then they came in 4th place in the Overwatch World Cup. A team from Europe did. And not in the top 3. So I like to talk a little trash to the EU players.
You can it's like I've had this conversation with a couple NA people, And the fun fact is, there's more Europeans in Overwatch League than Americans, so you don't get to talk. Simple as that.
No. It's not about the individual players. It's more the teams
but-
in Europe.
Well, it's pretty straightforward. Like there's pretty much straightforward answer for that. Look how many teams that base salary are in Europe, and look how many contender slots there are in Europe. Simple. That's just straight. If there is no competitive base, the gap is getting bigger. Like even in NA, the gap between, like right now, the bottom line of contenders teams are basically barely tier 3 teams. Well, they are tier 3, but yeah, they shouldn't be called tier 2.
Yeah.
Like they can't. The gap is so big. Same goes like for Europe, they have less slots, but it's still like the gap is big.
Yeah. And then they have Team Giganti, who, for some reason, it's like we're not going to let any of our players go to Overwatch League because we want to charge too much.
Money. They want money.
Yeah, they want a bunch of money, and the players
Titans
are like,
have similar problem, by the way.
oh, the Titans do. So, I mean, did that leave much of an option for Paris? Like they got an all-European team, but they didn't get the best European.
The players they got.
Yep. I completely agree with you.
I personally know people who could have been better, actually. Like in some of the slots.
I like Soon. I'm a fan of Soon.
Soon is straightforward the best player there is.
Yeah, I like their support line. I do like Cruz.
Really?
I do, but more because I like the personality than the player.
Oh, that's not how you pick players. Dude.
I know.
It's like you need to be
but
good
as
at
a fan,
that's actually so. In Europe, there's this meme going around that if you get one French person in a team, next season there will be 3. And after 2 seasons, the whole team will be French. And if you go back and look at the Eternal and check their roster, you clearly see that it's true. The problem is, I'm not telling the French people are bad themselves. The problem is, when you pick somebody because he's French, instead of him being good, Paris Eternal happens, and then Academy happens. Simple as that. That's just the way things are.
Nope. Yeah, I completely get it. I mean, maybe if they had a DPS lineup of Leaf and Soon.
Oh, Leaf wasn't that great in Goats.
But now
he's fucking insane projectile though.
He is. And we all saw.
Genji is not good, but Doom and Pharah. Ooh.
I mean, in the World Cup, everyone saw it. We're like, oh my god, who is this? And then we're like, oh, he's never gonna play in the Overwatch League because nobody's gonna pay his team to sign him.
Who is he playing for?
Giganti.
Fuck, poor guy.
Yeah,
he's stuck. Along with Devin.
Yep, no Devin.
Feels bad. But anyways, moving on to the Hangzhou Spark. A couple of things happening on their front. They released Revenge. They also picked up Bozzy on a team option. And they have a new addition to their coaching staff, picking up the former Mayhem assistant coach, as an assistant coach.
I mean, these are bit behind the scenes moves. None of these really had that big of an effect. Revenge really didn't get any play. The assistant coach could be good, could not be good, we don't know how.
Judging by teams, I wouldn't say, but that's not always the coach's fault. So
yeah, and Bozzy getting picked up, he's a good, bench DPS player. So none of this matters to the actual team as a whole, in my mind. So, now let's go to the dumpster fire.
Okay.
The Houston Outlaws. They released Bonnie. And the whole world was like,
that's it?
He's still on a team?
Who's Bonnie?
Exactly.
Has he played even one game in the whole 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
And they even put him in the game on purpose.
Did he play a game this year?
Ooh.
That I don't recall. I remember in Season 1 there were times when he was coming in to play Mercy over
In Season
Boink.
1 people were playing a lot of shit
Yeah.
for fun.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this just doesn't, like... All joking aside, Houston did good things on their DPS lineup. I liked what they did.
They got Blase Hydration.
Blase Hydration to go with Dante, and then if Jake's going to still be on the team or in Linkser, fine. I'm good with that DPS. I'm even good with Raucus on flex support. I know.
What?
He's backtracking.
He's like,
but he's bottom 5 for me. It's a simple
he's probably bottom for everything.
But here's the thing. He is the 3rd weakest point on that team.
Really?
I think their main support needs to be addressed first, and they have no off tank.
Who is their off tank?
Exactly.
They have Cool Matt and Spree.
Oh, okay.
And then Blase.
Or Hydration, or Dante.
Or Hydration. Like,
they have 3 DPS that can play Diva.
Yeah, like they have no off tank.
Well, and nobody plays Diva this day and age, so.
Or Wrecking Ball, or Sigma.
Yeah, they have nothing. They have Muma. Muma? I'm fine with Muma as their main tank. Really? I'm not fine. They have no off tank. They need a new main support. After that, then you look at flex support. So
I would say one day they will realize the same thing View realized this season. And instead of Cloud, they will actually buy players. One day.
Mm-hmm.
One day.
I like Blase. I've been a Blase fan since he was on Gladiators Legion. When he went to go sign with Boston. I was a fan of him, so I like that signing. I like I said, I like the DPS lineup for the Outlaws. But the rest of their team outside of Muma is a dumpster.
Well,
Muma should have been the main tank for Team USA this year.
No.
Even if Super
Orisa dude,
even if Super's not a good Orisa. Like his own team benched him because he couldn't play Orisa.
Well, have you seen Muma play Orisa?
No, I don't like watching games that don't matter, and that's generally all the Outlaw games. So,
you watched, at least the guy has been near the guy who can play Orisa, so he probably can transfer some skills. I did the review. He actually did pretty okay on Orisa. Consider comparing to what I've seen from Muma, it was okay.
Okay. And then Totem. Oh, yeah, Totem Europe.
Yeah, we have London, who continue to release people. They basically cut the remaining people from the inaugural season roster. So gone are Bedosian, as well as Quatermain. So basically, this is a brand new team at this point. They held on to Krillin, so we'll see whether or not he's actually going to get an opportunity to play at this point. But I honestly have no idea what London is doing at this point. They are trading off a lot of, big names on this team. I would not be surprised if Bedosian ends up going to the Dynasty at this point to reunite with some of the other former Spitfire. But yeah, it does really scream like, they're just trying to, get as much money as they can at this point, or just go budget.
It's like, you understand when people do bad, but it's like, those moves look like pure, we need some money dudes, okay? Apparently Cloud9 is not doing that great. They haven't won any games in CSGO lately, any majors, so they probably are starting to run dry, I guess. Some weird moves, at least from, chance to find the title again.
Yeah. I honestly, this is the big wild, we have no idea what the hell the Spitfire are doing. They're just getting rid of everyone, and they haven't really signed anyone. And there's and they're doing this whole Twitter slow release of players, teasing and stuff. No, you're teasing players that everyone's like, who the hell are they talking about? Like they
Well,
assigned,
everyone knew what the Glister one was, but if you're talking about the Sanguinar one, I can
yeah,
understand
the Sanguinar one, where everyone like, even the people who leak Halo thoughts it was like, and he's a huge Spitfire fan. He's like, who the hell is this guy? And it's like
Future prospects, dude.
it's like a tier 3 Gen G team
Really? What?
player. Yeah,
Really?
Sanguinine. Like nobody knew anything about this guy.
Maybe everybody's learning from Boston, and they realize that's more effective business model, so they'll
Mhm.
start to go the same route, I guess.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with them, but right now they just basically got rid of the entire team. So,
except Krillin.
except Krillin, who
Now,
they
he's on
signed.
bench though, right?
Well, right now he's starting.
Well, right now he's not starting because they don't have 8 players.
He is.
Bro.
He's like.
Congrats to
He's like.
you're now the
Krillin
best player.
writes home. He's like, "Dear mom and dad, I'm now number 1 on the
I'm
depth
gonna
chart."
be a telly.
Everyone's
Mom,
moved
Dad,
out.
watch me on telly.
Okay, let's move on to the Gladiators. So the Gladiators signed their second DPS player after getting rid of all their DPS players, and they signed Mirror from the Uprising Academy team.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact: he was in the initial roster of Team Latvia, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the initial roster?
But he didn't play.
Well,
he
he
did.
played for 3 scrims.
Okay. Are you allowed to talk why he didn't?
No,
Is it
I'm allowed to do whatever I want, but
You probably shouldn't.
I'll be polite. I'm not
Okay.
gonna comment.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. I don't know much about him. Like, I'll be personally honest, but I've heard good things about him.
Oh, I've heard some good things, and I haven't experienced the bad things, but I've heard some pretty nasty things as well. So I've no clue what's really happening. I don't know him that well.
And I can't imagine that Mirror and Birdring are going to be the starting DPS lineup, like the only
Why not
DPS.
Birdring?
No, as the only 2 DPS for the Gladiators, I imagine they're going to sign at least one more DPS player.
Mm-hmm.
What do they need? Mirrors, Flex. He can do Pharah pretty okay, Genji pretty okay. I'm not sure can he compete on Doom though.
Yeah, and Birdring is Widow, Tracer, Reaper, McCree.
Oh,
I don't know. Do they sign somebody like Flower?
I think it's too expensive.
Is he though?
What? Isn't he like He's been hyped for 2 years, dude.
And he did nothing.
What do you mean he did nothing?
He was benched in contenders.
Well, it's because they were playing goats.
Now Nene knocked him down. So like, and then he got brought up, and then he just never played, and then they cut him. So I don't know if Flower's too expensive for them, but I could see them doing something like that. But it will be like the rest of the team is pretty legit. Like they did sign Paintbrush from Mayhem Academy Revival as their backup support. Obviously, Paintbrush is not gonna replace Big Goose. They basically just signed. They said he did, from all accounts, he did really well in trials, and that's why they signed him. But he's a pure backup. And then so they have a great support line with Shaz and Big Goose, and then you have a tank line of OGE and Space.
Why
Obviously,
you need an extra support though? I don't get this.
You always need a backup support now.
What? For what?
Well, for starters, one, if they get knocked out with a sickness or something like that, or traveling now.
Oh yeah, the travel.
Yeah. So you want at least one backup in each, but you have the tank line of OGE and Space, so you have your tank lineup set. Like those are your starters.
OG's been like interesting this season though.
Mm-hmm. And then they also have
really
Pinker.
good. I just spent like 3 hours watching Space play. He's pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
Like pretty legit.
Yeah, and then they have Panker as a backup, who I've loved Panker, but he's just never played.
I don't think we're going to see Banker on the main stage.
He's my favorite player. Never been in the stage. I love him.
No, I don't think he has ever been on the stage, but he's been on the 2-way contract for like a year and a half now.
Yeah, he's
I
not
remember
there.
him from Apex, right? He played in Apex. That's
Mhm.
I think the last time I saw him play.
So, and they've been teasing one more signing, so it almost has to be a DPS at this point. So we'll see what happens with them, but I like what the Gladiators have done this year.
Yeah,
Except
like,
get rid of Decay. I was a little upset they got rid of Decay.
like I know a lot of people are like kind of like interested to see like what all of these sign-ins are going to be for like the backup roles. And it is important to note like Paintbrush is an in-game leader when he was on Revival, so you do have that quality behind Big Goose at this point. I I'm still not sold on the DPS here. Like I know Mirror was basically like on the verge of quitting. But his parents like gave him another year to like sort his stuff out to pursue his dreams, and you know here he is entering the Overwatch League going into the 2020 season. But you know he's kind of been a standout on some of the more middle of the road teams competing in contenders. So hopefully he'll be able to bring a little bit more consistency to this new DPS line. But I'd say like I feel more the pressure is going to be on Bird Rain going into this next season though on this team.
He's the star, right? There's nobody else.
Bird Rain on the team, yeah.
Yeah, it's like he's the carriest please senpai.
So looking at the other LA team, we have the Valiant who have officially released Fact Fiction. So I don't know what Fact has to do to actually get a break to stay on the team, but if the pass is any indicator, he's probably going to be another mid-season sign-in.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. Like he wasn't trash tier for the Valiant as a tank. Like he probably should get signed up to either be a backup or be signed in the midseason when somebody's main tank obviously just takes a shit. Like just isn't performing. So maybe they go that route. I'm looking at you, Sato. Yeah, so I think he's done enough to warrant being on a team. Just not the Valiant, because they are going super budget.
Wasn't he like, from what I've heard, they're not paying the top dollar anyways? Was it that bad? Were they like, fuck you, we're gonna play minimum now? So
Yeah,
Fiction
like
was fuck that shit.
They're only going to be paying like 55,000. Like the minimum, isn't it? 50,000 is the minimum.
They released Promise as well, right? The coach and something else.
I thought they actually signed like a bunch of coaches that we were like, what are they doing?
They released Promise, I think, and they released the manager, the T-Bubbles, after the season. From top of my head, there might be something else going on. I don't remember how they signed anything or not.
Yeah, I can't remember who the coaches are for them.
They promoted Stoop to associate head coach. Trying to see what else we got here. It's a pain like going through here, but yeah, Promise was released in early October.
Oh, they got Packing. They signed Goomba.
Packing 10 is the head coach right now.
Yeah, Packing 10 is the head coach. They signed Goomba. I remember that happened pretty recently.
What's Goomba doing?
Goomba was... What team was Goomba on? Was he Boston? Yeah, he was the Boston Uprising coach. And then I think also the Team Australia's coach. So they signed him to be the assistant coach over there. So, it's another. We're gonna go ahead and be the
He used
ultimate
to be
budget
on
team.
Valiant before that.
Yeah.
Oh,
prior.
Oh, did he? Yeah, prior before that, yeah.
Okay.
I think he got hired
We liked
away
you a
by
lot.
Boston,
We were like, we loved you a lot, dude. Come back.
but for way less than what you were making before.
Well, it's probably like we need all the help we can get this season,
Mm-hmm.
and then bring him on.
Well, they had a okay-ish run at the end. No, like they
Yeah, they
improved
did.
a lot.
They were one game off from making the postseason, basically.
It was super surprising for me. I guess people just were like, no, we think we are more like we are more valuable than you're offering. I guess
Mhm.
because it's weird to like release people that actually like made a drastic change in the team.
Right, and then the one person that wasn't released was the person leaking all of these things on stream. In
Oh
custom.
yeah.
I'm actually betting it's probably leaks are actually pretty good for the marketing. So
Mhm.
I still don't get it why teams are getting mad about it.
Yeah, well, I
It's
don't
like,
think Cussa has a problem with marketability at this
oh
point.
no, but I don't think so too. I met him in person. It's actually so chill. I love him.
No. The Philadelphia Fusion. We're not going to spend much time on this because it's no players. The Philadelphia
What?
Fusion.
It's
Uh,
Seta, dude. He's
Seta
famous.
joins as a strategic
He's
analyst.
famous. He has Seta lobby. Everybody uses that in Europe. It's like a warm-up lobby, dude. He's famous.
I did not know this.
Well, now you know.
Now
See,
I
You're
know.
getting EU knowledge here.
And
Everybody
then
hated that lobby when I played in like when I was coaching in NA. Everybody hated it, and the players were usually just put the normal deathmatch on. I'm like, no, we are playing this. It's more fun. Be like, we hate this stuff. Meanwhile, in Europe, everybody's having a laugh, enjoying the lobby.
So they
different,
signed.
different kinds of humor, I guess.
They signed him as a strategic analyst, and then Moby Dick signed as an assistant coach. So
Yeah, they also re-signed Christopher as an assistant coach as well. You know, like with Moby, like he's basically been working with like the new wave of Korean talent that's coming into the league. Seda, I'm only gonna assume like he's probably soon to be remote coaching since he has a fear of flying. So I don't think he's actually gonna be based in NA.
I think he was remote coaching on the previous team as well.
Yeah,
right?
he was remote coaching prior. So I'm assuming that nothing is going to change on that front.
Probably.
But you know that's not like the only coaching changes that we did see. We also have the Dynasty add in a new head of strategy and data analysis, that being Wizard Hyun. And outside of that, they also sent Fleta out and about, and he's over with Shanghai now, so that should be interesting. On that front. But you know, I really feel like Wizards' coaching style is going to be better suited for something that's not like a primary role, something that's more niche in this case. So, Dynasty.
I was laughing so hard. The Justice just got me last season. I was laughing so hard about that. It was funny.
It's like, oh, don't worry, guys. We were coaching for the 2-2 implementation all along.
Like the young, he's like his personality is like I'm so good, so over the top, and then like you get the head coach. They probably paid like half of the team's budget, considering watching the players they had in the season, to get the coach, and then they just get dumpstered for 3/4 of the season, just getting shit on so hard.
oh, how the mighty have fallen. Wizard Young was supposed to be this. Oh my God, such a great hire. They got this young. They got the pride of no. He just no.
Some people are not meant to be head coaches. Simple as that. It's okay. Like you don't have to be head coach to be a good coach. It's fine.
Nope. So, but it's a good pickup for Seoul. I think as a strategic analyst, like that's a. I mean, if you can get someone like Wizard Young with his experience, that's great.
Well, on the previous team, he did really well.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, obviously they released Fleta, but at this point they don't need Fleta.
Why not? Was he that bad?
No, it's just Soul is. They picked up Profit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I would take Profit.
Yeah, so they still have like Profit, Fitz, and Illicit for their DPS.
As of now. As of now.
Well, we already know they're not promoting Glister, so.
You mentioned that Fleta signed with the Shanghai Dragons, so we'll talk about them. So the Shanghai Dragons did a lot. They signed Fleta. They released Gamsu, which we knew about. They released Coma, and then Ding, Diem, Gaguri, and Luffy got team options picked up, and then Dia was picked up on a team option on a two-way contract. So, Seoul really kind of brought back the majority of, or Shanghai, sorry, really brought back the majority of their team. They made their scary DPS lineup, which was pretty scary.
Back when they could run 3.
Yeah, but they added Flooded to it, and then they have Luffy and Izayaki now on support, so they need a new main support because they don't have one now on the team. They got 2 flex, and then they have Envy and Gaguri on for flex tanks, and then they have no main tank. So this is a team where they have like good pieces, but they have they have 2 major holes. They don't have a main support and they don't have a main tank on the roster whatsoever. So obviously expect to hear more from them.
They're gonna come out running like Wrecking Ball Zarya in the Shanghai Invitational.
Bro, it's a thing.
Oh, hey, I know, it's gonna happen.
It could work.
It happened Korea Contenders Finals. Runaway, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's expect more from them, but they have a good base to their team.
It's just I don't know what they're doing with Gaguri at this point. Like,
I think it's a marketing thing.
That's what it really feels like up until this point.
It kind of does. I mean, she has a decent Zarya. Yeah.
Not good enough though.
She plays, if I remember correctly, like she plays a very passive Zarya. And this is memory because it's been a long time since I actually saw her play competitively on Zarya, and she has a more passive Zarya where nowadays to be like one of the good Zaryas, you need to be a little bit more aggressive, and she just wasn't fitting in with that.
It's always been like that though.
Yeah, but you could get away with a more passive Zarya before.
Yeah, you just keep her alive and let farm in the backline in the early starts of the goats thing. But...
So, it will be interesting, and it's not like Envy is lighting the world on fire as an off tank either. Like, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see who they sign. I know they at one point were rumored to be trading for Fate, but I think that has kind of fell through. So I don't know. It looks like they'll probably have to turn to the contenders route to sign their main tank because there's no other real main tanks.
Is it mixed? It's mixed Korean Chinese, right?
Diaz, they're one Chinese player and he's on a 2-way contract.
Oh,
everyone else is Korean.
Gaguri wasn't Gaguri Chinese? No, she was Korean as well.
She's Korean.
Yeah. Diaz is the only Chinese player, and the rest are Korean.
There are good Korean options out there, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, like that's the thing. Is like as much as people want to say like you don't always have to go Korean. Well, you know what? They're so deep that it's hard not to.
Who would have thought that when you have money in the region, it makes good players?
It's the crazy thought.
Blizzard, listen, Blizzard. Money helps people to be good at things because they can feed themselves and dedicate time. DM them this. They might actually figure things out.
Yeah, you also can't eat off of Blizzard bucks.
Oh yes, you can. You buy the Hearthstone cards, and then you sell the account. Simple as that.
There you go.
All planned out.
Yeah,
that's where I spent my Blizzard bucks. I was like, the only I was like, okay, I've heard of the Hearthstone. I have no interest in grinding it million hours. Let's buy a deck and see if I like the game. Bought the deck, played it for a week. I don't like the game.
And even nowadays, you could just play Hearthstone Battlegrounds and then just not spend any money.
Why would you do that?
So, it'll be interesting to see what they do, but let's move on to the next team.
So, moving on to the Toronto Defiant, they have signed Nevix, formerly from the San Francisco Shock. Then they also picked up Albus who is going to be a new assistant coach and manager of both the Toronto Defiant and then their affiliate team, the Montreal Rebellion. Alright, so we got Beast Halo Nefix for the tank line. Nefix is going to have an opportunity to be a primary starter at this point, not right in the bench. Beast out of whatever abyss he crawled out of at this point, so it's going to be interesting. Like, Toronto is basically going out and picking up the biggest names that they can find. They're farming the clout, basically. It hasn't really worked out for a lot of teams out there. We'll see if that trend continues on this front with the Defiant.
I mean,
Judging from what I've seen.
Seems unlikely.
Can we just call them the Toronto Fuel?
Toronto Fuel. I guess we should call like half of the teams in league now Fuel.
Like, they just went for the popular players. Like, I mean, Surefour can still pop off.
He's on the academy now, or two-way, right?
No. Surefour is probably their main.
Sure?
So they signed Surefour and Agilities. Then you got Nevix and Beast Halo. And who's their support line again? They traded for Kareev.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got Kelix. So yeah, fan favorites there. And then they kept Mangachu. Like, they're just going for the fan favorite, which is not a bad option either, because they get if they become like, that's probably one of the things why Atlanta's done so well and been able to make all these changes. They get a portion of the bits cheered for them and stuff like that. So Toronto was probably like, well, what if we try and become a fan favorite and start getting the support behind that team? Like, it's not a light the world on fire team, but it's not a bad team. But they're a 500 team. They're like a 10-10 type of team. So, good for them. People will like it. I cannot cheer for them because
that's the Midwest representation.
Do you hate Canadians as well?
No.
There's an account called Blame Canada.
Yeah. So
okay.
So the reason that I'm anti-Toronto is because in the Midwest in the U.S., we have no team. We have no team in the Midwest, in the middle of the United States.
Isn't Texas in the middle?
It's the South. Like, it's not considered the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
Americans, all I'm going to say.
Well, all right. For instance, do you consider Paris your team?
What do you mean, my team? I consider that European team, yes.
No. If, like, for your area of Europe, is Paris your area of Europe?
Well, we are Eastern Europe, like they are Central. I guess but that's like the same.
You
see the problem? Europeans consider every European player their team.
Yeah. See, and
we are just happy that like somebody gets out and they can actually make the money.
But Toronto, it was kind of like between Toronto and Chicago, where Totem's located, and I'm an hour and a half, 2 hours away. It was like between them for the last spot, and it went to Toronto, and not Chicago.
In 21, don't worry.
In theory, so I can't like Toronto for that sole reason.
Mm-hmm.
You're a hateful dude, man.
I am.
I
am a hateful person.
You hate Canada.
Not okay. I like the Titans.
Okay.
Not Toronto. Also, I've said it before. I've said it a million times. Toronto's not real Canada. It's south of me. Like, I'm in the U.S. and Toronto is south of where I live.
I bet Canada disagrees to that statement.
Yeah, no.
Because it's something similar what Russians said to Crimea. It's like, Crimea is not really Ukraine. We're gonna take that. So be careful with words like that.
I don't have that much clout.
That's okay.
I can't pull off.
I'll just get an email later.
Level of Vladimir Putin's.
Yeah. Me and Putin aren't best of friends. I can't pull that off.
Unfortunate.
So, but yeah, So that was the Toronto Defiant. Then we talked about this earlier.
Yeah,
the
we talked about the Titans already.
Yeah, Tizzy was a free agent, got dropped. That's all they've done so far.
Yeah, so that leaves us with the Washington Justice, who went out and they picked up Aim God. That they also have 2 new coaches added to their staff, which includes Supreme, who was formerly on the Honcho Spark, so he's been brought on as the new development coach. And then they've also turned to XL2 Academy, and they signed Wiz, who will be an assistant coach for the Justice in 2020.
Okay.
Aim God pick up.
Yeah, Aim God to pair with Arc, who re-signed. Not a bad support lineup right there.
So is this going to be another case of someone getting the hell out of Dodge of Boston and playing better outside of Boston?
Very well could be. I think the only question with the Justice right now is what are they going to do with their tank line? Because they did sign Elivout and Lullish, which everyone assumed was going to be their starting tanks going forward. But then they go out and sign Roar from the Gladiators.
Did you see Elivout in the World Cup? Valsic?
Did they make it that far? Yeah.
They played for Sweden. They dropped out in the groups.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no. See, and that was one thing we talked about a lot last week. Is unless you were at home at BlizzCon, you couldn't watch these matches.
Really?
They had
They had 4 different streams though.
They did, and they weren't showing them like one of each. They had like the announcers. They had like Golden Boy, Reinforce, and Zoe on stage, kind of doing like a breakdown of the matches.
It was the mainstream, right?
Well, they had 4 different ones.
No. What I remember was they had 4 different links to 4 different streams. So,
oh yeah,
and they had a mainstream on the Overwatch League. So Overwatch League channel was bouncing between the games, and if you wanted to watch specific game, you could have gone directly to one of the other channels and watched that specific game with the.
Oh yeah, you could do that, but if you were at BlizzCon,
oh
yeah, if you were at BlizzCon, you just got the.
I wanted to kill them for that. I was
like we're just like you're showing one half of a map.
Worst case was they are like switching all the time instead of like stick with the one, dudes. Like I'm fine not watching the other, because I ended up sitting on one of the sides so I can watch all 4 at a time, because they were just jumping on the middle screen. I was like, dudes, are you guys dumb? Who does that?
Yeah,
like nobody cares about.
It was brutal.
We need to watch every game. Like no, just pick the most hyped one. Like nobody cares about the rest. But yeah, no, I had like I watched Televote specifically. I need like doing the review and some like coaching stuff. Watching him seemed like the guy struggles like on the Sigma currently. Like he was really good on Diva though, like really good Diva, but Sigma seemed like he hasn't figured out Sigma yet. And Lalzish, strong Reinhardt, I don't think he ever has been like the best of the best, like on terms of the tanks. But he was solid there. Zarya seemed okay. I'm not sure, like, I guess they want to develop them and just pick something who is able to actually, like, pull the load, like, from the get-go, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what they do there, but. And this is all in 1 week. This has all happened in the past 7 days.
Yeah.
We're going to get more next week, too.
Yeah, once we figure out what team options actually got picked up and what didn't. Maybe.
In theory.
Potentially.
One can hope.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, since we do have GGMentality with us here tonight, we wanted to learn more about, your coaching background, obviously your experiences with the World Cup this year, since you did head coach Team Latvia. So we did ask our community to send in questions for this interview, which, we got either on Twitter, through DM, or just in our Discord page. So to start things off, let's learn a little bit more about Latvia, because, this isn't a team that we see compete a whole lot in regards to the World Cup. Obviously, we got a format change this year. a lot of the teams had to crowdfund their way to get in there, and I know Latvia was involved in kind of like a fundraiser with a lot of the other European teams in order
Yeah, we
to,
also did one
pay
on
your.
our own as well.
Hmm. So Major Luke was wanting to know how big the Overwatch scene is in Latvia.
Small. Some people would say non-existent. Unlucky. Well, fortunately, I guess I'm the guy who's has run the scene, kind of run air quotes. We have an esports club, and we are doing like bi-monthly team builders for the scene, and like basically, too bad the Blizzard has no stats or like way to gather the data, but like from mouth to mouth, we have 52 people in there, and there's a couple higher level people. Like I would estimate it's probably the whole scene is 100 to 200 people max. I would guess, like people playing the game in Latvia.
So that would really put you guys kind of like in a strain if they were going with the average SR for like qualifiers.
Yeah, that's the whole reason why we never made it. Like we had team on the first year, when it was like the combined Baltic states and Caspian Sea, I think. In the first World Cup, we had the team there. We had 2 people in there. But after that, it's like no way. We just can't do it. I kind of dig like the new system is pain in the ass for teams themselves, but I kind of dig him because like Saudi Arabia could come, which they have like really good players. I've worked with them, but they also would never make it the 4.5 cut. That was always for the teams.
Yeah, so it seems like it was more beneficiary to smaller countries out there that wouldn't have the player base to really support having that high SR, or having to have these players have 12 different accounts and like everyone just grinding nonstop in order to inflate the
you
overall
hear a fun
average.
story about that? I can tell you a fun story. I'm not gonna name the country, but there was like people I know. So around the World Cup every year, they would like smurf on around 30 accounts to get them in the range. So they would like add a total. It's like 4.3, 4.4. Like boost them up so they could actually kind of make it. I don't think they ever made it, but I know a person who's done that. Not Latvia, but yeah.
Oh, that's. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
Yeah, well, to be honest, like, even though we don't have players, we've managed to squeeze at least 1 or 2, like, in every game, like, as a pro. Like, we have Sharik, like, he's now released, I think, yeah, but we had Sharik now last, like, till the end of this season. We had Forsaken, who used to be high-level player, and Mirror was able, like, he was living in Latvia, so he was kind of eligible to play. For different reasons, they couldn't at the end. But yeah, at least if we could have gotten the pro players that we had, we could have competed, probably win the Mexico. Not sure about like making top 10 or that kind of stuff, but with like a couple of people who could carry the load, because the whole team we had was not like nobody but one guy had ever played in a teams before, like
Oh, wow.
in actual tier 3, and average SR of the team was 3.8. But like people put in the work, and I don't think we had like some good moments. Like we got rolled because we like people were not like disciplined enough under stress to recognize the like windows on attack, and we made silly mistakes. Like as a team, made silly mistakes there. But on defense, we did pretty well. On like Hollywood was really good defense, and that kind of, so we can play. Like I don't think people should be limited by their SR. We like if people put in work, you can learn the game. The game is not that hard.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah, I'm not sure about you making Team US though. Considering the, I can always offer you a move to Latvia.
Yeah, like how easy is it to get dual citizenship in Latvia?
they would probably just give you it straight away.
They'd be like, yeah, sure. You want
Yeah, it's like-
you want to move to Latvia?
You wanna
Yeah,
live
yeah,
here,
yeah, just come.
and you are coming from US. You're sure?
Right?
Are you mentally ill? No. Okay, here you go. That would probably be the process of getting that. But yeah, it's a small community, like in itself, but Latvia has always been small. We have like a couple of hockey players. It's 6th country in the world, like top 6 in the world in ice hockey, and we have basketball players. Like as every small country, like we tag along. And I think I like that the new system kind of allows at least the smaller countries to come out there and like see where they are. Though the expense part is pretty like rough for not so like I guess higher middle class kind of level countries. But it is what it is. Like just get the money.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely a lot of countries that were dropping out just due to not being able to get the funds or find the sponsors in that regard. But Ed, why don't you go ahead and take the next question?
Well, this kind of ties into the last thing you said. Is this is from Lemon Zoo. Is how difficult was it to find sponsors / crowd funds so Team Latvia could compete in the World Cup?
Hard, in a nutshell. I think the good thing is that community of the World Cup itself is really like responsive and like supportive. Because we started with doing crowdfunding for Latvia via GoFundMe, I think. We got some money through that. Like I think it's, I don't want to lie. I don't remember the numbers. Like till $500, something along those lines. And at the end, like the manager did great job. He was messaging like a shitload of companies, and he got like one company that basically agreed, well, gave enough money so we can pay for Airbnb for the week. And rest of that was basically people came together as like, guys, you will have to pay for the rest of the stuff. Blizzard gives you 500 back. Are you in or out? And it was kind of rough. Like the hardest part about the money, I guess if you're not sure if you have it, is the, how you put it politely, is the motivational part for the players, I guess. Like I'm used to working six days, like 6 days 4 hours minimum, like 6 days 6 7 8 hours, like to like coach and that kind of stuff. But when players come in and they're not sure they're gonna go, there is some like the stress and like unsureness of going there kind of like hits in the motivation a bit. And yeah, so like there's always like that, that I'm gonna put in all this work and we're not gonna go, kind of voice back in the head, which is like probably the hardest part for small countries, I guess. But yeah, I had to do personal crowdfunder just to go as well. But yeah, well, people came together, they helped out, they resonated with the story. So honestly, I think in the end, like if you want it, I don't think like it isn't easy to get the money, but I think you can get enough money.
We saw a lot of teams from countries you wouldn't fully expect actually coming out there.
Colombia?
Yeah. And I don't think we've talked about this story, but like we got hooked up with you in the most random ass way.
With me?
Yes. So like me and Totem, we did our meet and greet. And then all of a sudden this guy, and I don't even know what his name was.
The big guy with black hair or the smaller guy with like
smaller guy?
Oh yeah, he's my brother. He's really talkative.
Yeah, so he came up and started talking to us, and we're just shooting the shit with him, so on and so forth. He grabs some stickers. He comes back. He's like, "Hey," and then that's when he tells us he's with Team Latvia. Oh. And he's like, "Hey, can I grab a Reinhardt sticker for my coach?"
Oh,
he's a big
That's
Reinhardt
our manager. That was our manager. Right?
Oh, was it the manager?
And he
came back and he's like, "You should really talk to him," so on and so forth. So we got hooked up with you from our meet and greet at Con Before the Storm.
Yeah, we were there.
Stickers.
we were going out to get a beer after the game day,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, it was the only place where you could buy beer.
It's quicker lines at the event parties.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, downstairs it was like no way, and
Oh
we went
yeah,
up. It was
Chaos.
like
it's
the $9 beer is pretty disgusting. Anyways, I'm gonna be honest,
mhm.
because the
I got a
it was
double
it was
whiskey
Heineken.
7, $22.
Oh my fuck! I was like, we were like, fuck it, we will buy one beer because we came this way.
Yep. And then and then he got all this swag, and then he goes and gets you. So that was the
Yeah,
most random thing.
we brought back the Team Spain as well there, by the way.
Mm,
Yeah, it was
nice.
like they came back. It was like, where do you get that? It's like, hey, there's guys doing the like podcast guys. They're giving away stuff. People are, oh, we want to.
Mhm.
Give me a sec. Where was it? Oh, I can't find it. I had the Pachimari somewhere in the background.
Yeah, we had a lot of people coming up to us like, we have, they're here for you to take. Just take them.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
shot
the guys
glasses
came
went
back.
pretty
They were
quick.
like, "Go talk." I was like, "Well, I'll go talk." It's like,
Mhm.
I guess what else can I do? It's like I'm bored anyways. You know, who needs sleep?
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah, who doesn't?
yeah.
So, Tom, you can take the next one.
Wasn't much of that at BlizzCon. So the next question kind of like goes in regards to like the format structure of the World Cup. So Lemon was wanting to know like how chaotic it was, knowing that basically everything was kind of condensed into like this 3-day schedule. So for just as a reminder for like those that didn't know what the schedule was, basically on Halloween, which was the day that Con Before the Storm was happening, we had the preliminaries, which basically went on for like 12 hours of broadcasting throughout the day. Then you would move into the next day, which was the group stage, which is when we had the 4 simultaneous games happening at the same time, just like it was the prior day. But no one, like there was no way to actually watch the games at BlizzCon basically without doing like the red zone format. And then we would move into Saturday, which was the playoffs, which was held in the arena at that point. So was there any sort of chaos just knowing that everything was like so condensed this year in regards to the format?
Depends on what kind of chaos, I guess. It was like the event itself. It like we had team managers and everything, so at least ours was really good, and we had no problems knowing where we have to be and what we have to do. It was rough in terms of if we have like where to get practice before the games,
Mhm.
because you didn't know when you will play what like till the what I think last day before that. So we had no chance to like early book it and that kind of stuff, which was I get their side because like there was like what I think one team even dropped out last day, like they didn't pick up the badges basically.
Brazil, I think it was.
No, Brazil dropped out earlier. I think it was I don't know, Singapore maybe. No, there's one team that like just didn't like come out and get the badges basically. So they had to like change the bracket on last day before that. And so I like so that's kind of like this kind of system makes it harder for them to organize it, I guess, because you don't know who's actually gonna show up than if you have like the qualifiers happening and everything already set. But it wasn't chaotic in that sense. Obviously, there's lots of stress before that, like for like teams and organizing everything, like how we get there, where we go, what we need to do, where we need to be. Nobody knows anything, but we were like ourselves. We were like pretty well organized, always on time, so we didn't have any problems. Chaotic.
Yeah, I
No,
think
I don't think that 3 days. It's like it's hard on you, but for esports events, I think it's normal. Like from my experience, having that kind of like whole tournament packed in 3 days is pretty normal.
Yeah, I think it's more from the side of like we kind of heard like a lot of horror stories in regards to like the casters having to do a lot of like the production stuff kind of like on the fly that they're not used to doing, or just with some of the matches being like online only, or you being able to hear like enemy team comms basically because everything was like so close to one another basically.
Oh yeah, like that part. Mm, I don't know that like when like so the whole setup. I guess I can talk about it now. Nobody cares. The whole setup was basically in large hall. There was like the steel frame, which was covered like, and there's like separated in small rooms, which was basically black curtains around like small area, and like what was it like 8 PCs in a row, and that was like the whole setup. There's like no hard walls on it, and no like extra headphones while you're playing the preliminaries and everything. But I was there the whole day, like on the place, and I can tell you for sure that at least in preliminaries, until the last game, which was Netherlands and Finland, you couldn't hear like comms. There's no way you can hear enemy comms because like everybody's screaming different shit. You don't understand what's happening.
Gotcha.
But last game, when there was like Netherlands and Finland was the only ones left, then you could hear like probably something, but it doesn't. It like it's not that clear, and it's not like you could like Finns can speak like in Dutch, you know. It's like how planning usually happens, and the English part is English part, and well, if you hear people in the background calling Lucio, like it's not gonna help you. Like it doesn't change anything.
Were you
that
there for
sense.
the fire drill?
Yeah.
How was that fun?
Nah. We had the jokes. We laughed a bit. We're like, well, so in Latvia a couple of years ago there was this horror story. Mall collapsed and like 70 people died, and like there was a fire alarm before that, and the guard told you it's fine, you can stay, don't worry, and it collapsed. And we had a little bit laugh around that about like the Anaheim center collapsing and how lucky that would be. But other than that, we just came to like, hey guys, is something actually burning, or is this like somebody pulled the alarm?
Like, how quickly do we have to get the hell out of here?
We were like, somebody must have been really pissed of losing or wants to win real bad. Like just having jokes around that. And then like they really quickly message each other like to know what's going on, and they got the answer that it's just a drill. I was like, you should message the guy who's doing the drills, like deciding when the drills happen, and like tell him politely that he's brain dead.
How do I put this politely?
Yeah,
You're
hello, sir. You
fired.
do know that there is an event happening right now, right?
Mhm.
Why you couldn't do it day earlier when nobody was there, or like 3 days later, or at least in early morning when nobody's there, I guess, or late evening. But,
Exactly.
I don't think actually that any of the players cared. Casters run out pretty fast. They were just like, "Fuck this, we're out."
Like, I'm out.
Yeah, rest of the teams are just playing. They're like, "What the fuck is this stupid noise?" And because like, if you're in the game, you play. Unless it's stopped, you play. There's no option.
All right, so our next question is from Averin, and they want to know: is the World Cup a better means to scout potential Tier 2, Tier 3 signings for OWL as opposed to contenders trials?
Nobody's signing Tier 3 players from World Cup.
From World Cup, I was gonna be like,
No.
like the Spitfire have 2 Tier 3 players on their team right now.
The problem is, I think the thing with World Cup is, I think Netherlands, Denmark, like those teams got pretty good exposure. So maybe some of them they got tryouts 100% for that. I don't know about everybody personally, but they probably have gotten some tryouts.
All right, let me ask you this. This is something I brought up last week or whatever, within the past few weeks. Would it be better if the World Cup only allowed Tier 2 players and below? No Overwatch League players allowed, but it would bring the Tier 2 players more to the forefront. Would that be better for the game? For the league?
Game?
For the league, really.
Depends what I don't think that like purposely limit like purposely limiting like countries' chance to succeed is a smart move in the World Cup because the people watching are just rooting for the country. They don't care like if player gets signed or not. Most likely, that's like at least my opinion. Um, so I think that's not a great idea. But like, Jane, like Canada did it, right? Jane stepped away, let like some new guy, some new coach be there as a coach. He was like, "I'll manage. I don't want to coach, so somebody else can take the flag." I think some other like Koreans just didn't play. I think some of them just said like, "Nah, fuck it." There were teams that like purposely like players that said no. They would like take somebody who's new guy, like just out of free will. And I think that's better than like forcing it. At least in my, I don't like. I in general don't like the way Blizzard does things with like such an authoritarian way, like to contenders and everything. Like, and I think the more like you allow the scene itself to regulate, the better. So I think it's better not to like touch it in that kind of sense.
Gotcha. Let's see. Moving on, we also here's a question about in regards to the format. Obviously, like it's changed from year to year, but how did you feel about this year's format over hosting like qualifying group stages like we have seen in the years past for the World Cup?
There are upsides and downsides, I guess. Upsides obviously is the money. Everybody can play for free in the qualifier. Question is how you decide. So the upside though is there is no limitations for the qualifier now. So like qualifiers had the SR limits, so you had to go through that, which is kind of unsportsmanlike, I would say. Because it's not Olympic Games where you need to qualify over the years and play tournaments and stuff. It's just like ladder. Like Latvia doesn't even have 100 ladder players. How are you gonna force them to be like 4.5k? Like that's stupid. But I, I, I guess the more events was nicer. Like they had the LAN events for every region, and they were like mix of the teams going there. It was like better for like the place where it was happening, I guess. But at the end of the day, like you couldn't buy tickets to it anyways. So like I tried to buy the one that was happening in Germany last year or France, I think. Like second, like the day they opened, like next day there was like no tickets. So that kind of is neither here or there. I would say like I would rather see them stick to this format than actually do the SR limit. I know that some people would be like, "Fuck you, money," but people like if we in Latvia can get some money and it's like some dirt hole near the Russia, I think everybody can get the money. It's just a matter of work, right? And if you couldn't get it this year, like for example, we like our like the committee that we had in a team is already working like building up the community from the momentum we had this year. And like already planning about the next year if there's something happening, like moving things in direction so we can limit the problems with like like we had actually way more players that could play with like higher qualification, but they didn't have years, for example. What I would love to see though is that the 18-year rule is kind of stupid. I get it. Like understand that they don't want to deal with the guardian like stuff in the event, and I get like that side of the story, but limiting esports to 18 years where majority of people that are actually good at the games in the range of like 16 to 17, maybe even lower, 16 to 18 I would say, that's like the peak range for esports players, right? And limit like artificially limiting that to that kind of high level, I'm not a fan of that, but I get like the reasoning why they did it. So
yeah, I'm not a fan of the 18-year-old rule either. I think they should allow, because like you said, most people's careers are over in esports, professional, by like 2021.
We see people retiring at 18 even. I mean, yeah.
So I'm not a fan of that. Also, I want to see sugar free from Atlanta Academy as much as humanly possible.
Next year.
So, next question. We got another question from Averon. Do you approach coaching differently in tournaments like this that are in a more condensed format compared to like coaching a contenders team?
So the coaching mostly happens in prep period, which was what it was 2 months, 3 months from the announcement, I guess. If I'm not wrong, I think it was like 2 or 3 months. It's like around the same level as like contender season. So for coaching itself, you're more concerned of what's the time frame for you to prepare, and then you plan around that instead of like tournament itself. What's like what more affects the way you coach is the fact that we had single elimination instead of double. So like once we knew the maps, we played only the first stage maps. It's like all that matters is winning the first game. Then if you make it, then you can worry about the next ones in the evening. Because prepping for the whole like what's gonna come next, there's no point for that. So that's why I kind of didn't like the system. Like you have one lucky draw or one mistake, and you kind of get like knocked out. That's not that fun. Like especially if you have to pay like what some teams have to play like 1,000 per person just to fly there. To play like for half an hour, that's I think they can do better. Just like make make the tournament like start the prelimination 2 days before that, and do like double elim at least. But yeah, but I don't like people have weird conception, I guess, because they think it's really condensed format. It is. It's like across the esports itself. For tournament, it's pretty standard. 3 days, it's a standard for tournaments. Like if you look at CS:GO, majors, same stuff. Like they play for a week, I think, but it's the same thing basically. And lots of formats happen in this kind of short time frame where you have 1 day of insane like 12-hour day, and then if you move on, you slowly like wean out, and it's like less intense. But yeah, so what's more affected is like how you act in like between the maps, and I guess what you do between the games. That's more like affected by the short term, because when you play in the contenders, you have like week to prepare. You do scouting for the teams. You like counter strat, like prepare, like check some weaknesses, something you can exploit. You have like 5 days to drill in the things you want to practice and like prepare. If you like here, if you go to the next stage, you've prepared for one. So judging from that, you're okay, guys. Listen up. These are the maps. I know we haven't practiced, but just do your thing. So, like, what comes down to that is you during the preparation you focus more on the like general basic like teamwork, that kind of stuff, instead of preparing for specific maps or team. Like which in contenders it's way different because you prepare for the maps and the team combine.
Right, so our last community question comes from Medic, who asks, should Blizzard revisit sponsorship guidelines for Tier 2 Overwatch?
Well, the 10-second answer is yes. I can go deeper on that. I think it should have been done like long time ago already, personally. Like I understand like they have some problems because even like World Cup had to go through the sponsor approval deal, which is which is like, guys, fuck you. Like you don't give money, just shut the fuck up. It's okay we cannot wear them on the stream, take that, but what we wear after or like who's ever in our jerseys during the BlizzCon, just leave that alone as long as it's not like porn, guns, drugs, whatever, like the standard rules of sponsorships.
Or has the initials FU on the jersey?
Yeah, that kind of shit. Well, that's kind of you like they don't approve like team jerseys like in World Cup, like the personal ones, because you have like the standard issue for the stage, and then after you're out, or like after you're out of the tournament, you can walk around whatever you like during the like actual BlizzCon. So we could walk in our sponsor logo, like we had sponsor logo and like good looking jerseys. So we wore those like in the rest of the days. But I think as it comes for contenders, tier two, I guess tier two is contenders. Um, I think if they don't do it, like the game, I don't think that Overwatch League is gonna sustain it. So the question for me is, what's more important for them? Like I understand that they are getting like lots of deals and money from Overwatch League, like from the investors and that kind of thing. The problem with any sport is if nobody is playing, like no, if nobody's playing, it's not competitive, and if it doesn't get like if the competition goes, so if you're like if the skill level drops, obviously, right? Because nobody cares. Like if the project, what's the project A or project 2 or whatever is for the Riot comes out tomorrow, nobody's playing Overwatch in contenders anymore. Nobody.
Yeah,
That's just the reality of the fact. Because like you like, if you wanna regulate, you have to make sure that you provide minimum like necessary like value for people to sustain themselves to doing that. That's why I said like I'm not fan of authoritarian like kind of style there. For Overwatch League, fine, but you like if you're not feeding talent into the system, I don't know like how you're gonna sustain it. You can talk all pretty, but like from where I'm sitting, for me like looks like from my position it looks that like Overwatch League is just being kept up by money. There is like, if there wouldn't be so much people pumping in like shitloads of money, I'm not sure if people would be even watching that. Because like who really cares? Like it's the same like if you look at the tier 2, why nobody's watching tier 2? Because there's nothing to identify. Like people don't have things to root for. Like Fnatic, like the classic orgs who have like huge reach, they are not interested. They cannot put their own sponsors in there. That's why they're not coming, right? So for if they want to like make the path to poverty, how it's memed, actually sustainable, like or like people to play within it that are like actually legit professionals instead of like crazy people who can actually afford to survive off of nothing, then they kind of need to like either remove that or make sure that there is sustainable income in the like system.
Okay. I don't think I have any questions that we didn't already go over, except this one question.
Uh-oh.
No. It's not. It's not a bad one. It's not a crazy. What is your single favorite? Oh no, I have two questions. Sorry.
Do too.
What is your single favorite moment in coaching so far? Contenders, Team Latvia. What's your single favorite moment from when you've been coaching?
Like single specific moment or in general?
Specific moments.
Specific? Okay.
Yep.
I have a like I don't know, I think it will never leave me. This year at the start of the year, I was coaching NOS in the Europe Open Division, Novus Ordo Seclorum. And it was the season where every single contenders team was dropped down to trials. And it was only one spot. So we went undefeated till the finals in the Open Division, and then we were in the situation where we like our most serious rivals were like 3-1 up on us, and then like I talked a bit, like I don't remember what like specifics I said. I just basically like I call it like pulled out Coach Carter, and then like talked to the guys, and then the guys were like, fuck it, guys. We have nothing to lose. Let's go Bastion on Volskaya. We're still in Goat's meta. We've practiced it a couple of times, so it wasn't like out of the blue, but it wasn't like our main go-to. And they pulled it out after like clusterfuck in previous like round, and they won that map. And then from there, we kind of started to build like an insane comeback. And then at the end, we first held the, I forgot the name, something falafel something team. And yeah, and I was standing on my feet, basically listening to comms because I know that every mistake we make from now, fucked. And then people were like coming up with like really insane plays, starting to pull their stuff together, and like everybody stepped up, like everybody across the board. People were like, "Fuck it, we're not gonna lose." Like that was the attitude from the players, and we won. Like we made the comeback, and then we forced held them on the last map, Dorado. Like
Nice.
we had, and I think we actually had what. I don't remember. Did we had like 1/3 of the tick only, or we finished? I know it was some like we first held them. Let's leave it there. And everybody was screaming like you feel the last seconds ticking, and you like hear they like increasing the voice and everything, and it was like really like I was really proud at that point about the players. And after the game, I was like, yeah, like they screamed and yelled, and we calmed down. And after the fact, it's like, thank you guys. And yeah, since then we've been like, everybody on the team has been like really close after that, because it's like such a like huge emotional connection. That's
Okay.
the best one.
And my other question, and this has nothing to do with Overwatch.
I have a.
Have you ever seen the movie Die Hard?
Isn't there like multiple?
Yes.
Yeah, there's multiple, like with Bruce Willis.
Yeah, but they're all the same, right? It's the high
Yeah,
rise
basically.
working to vent, saving the wife. Yeah, I've seen those.
All right, so I doubt you guys have this stupid argument that we have in the United States over here, because everyone who says it is just wrong. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
It is.
Yes.
I fucking hate you. And you're wrong.
It depends. Well, for me to properly answer, let's walk up a bit.
Okay, we're gonna break down Die Hard.
I was going the craziest direction. Let's walk back a bit. So, what's the definition in your mind of Christmas movie?
Like, it does not involve people getting shot in the head and thrown off buildings.
So every movie that's not shooting and killing is Christmas.
Just because it happens during Christmas time does not make it a Christmas movie.
What makes Christmas movie then?
It has to revolve around Christmas.
Well, it is revolving. It's actually happening during Christmas.
Well, it happens during, but are the terrorists attacking because of Christmas?
Maybe they're like some weird religion. I'm not gonna name
they're
specific
not.
religion.
He's a crazy German terrorist.
Well, Germans are pretty creepy, though. I lived in Germany. I go to like every month now. I go to Germany. They are creepy dudes.
Oh yeah, but that doesn't mean that they specifically attacked a tower in Los Angeles because it was Christmas. No, they wanted to steal money.
Well, the question is, did they specifically in the movie state that they are attacking it because it's not Christmas? Like, not because it's Christmas.
No.
So maybe there's some hidden aspect of it.
No, you're done. You're officially we're gonna just re-record this podcast tomorrow.
Maybe they just want to go where the people are.
Feels bad, man.
No. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Then Lethal Weapon is a Christmas movie.
Why? Is it happening in Christmas?
Yes.
Well, then it's like for me it's straightforward. Like, my girlfriend thinks that Christmas movies are all the romantic shit, like they meet Christmas spirit, that kind of shit, and it's like they all happy endings. For me, it's like, is it happening in Christmas? Yeah, fuck it, this Christmas movie.
But that's like every movie that has snow.
Home Alone's Christmas movie. People get hit in the head with like objects in it.
Yes, hit in the head.
And it's not because it's Christmas.
In the head.
No,
What?
it's not because it's Christmas. It's like the things are happening because parents are shitty parents and they leave.
I'm not going to disagree with you
not
that
because
the
of the
parents with
Christmas.
home loans are shit parents.
It's not because it's like they are not stealing because it's Christmas. Like the what's the name, the two bad guys,
Joe Pesci and whatever the dudes. Yeah.
So they are stealing because they want to steal, and they are stealing because nobody's home. So by that logic, it's not a Christmas.
But they're stealing because at Christmas time, there's more presents there. There's more like stuff for them to steal.
Would you argue that in rich neighborhood, like he lived in a rich neighborhood, right?
Yeah,
That's
and I don't get
assume
how, but
like
they
he was like dad was lawyer, whatever. Like it seemed like fancy neighborhood. So would you judge that in that neighborhood there probably is enough things to steal, even if it's not Christmas?
But there's more at Christmas.
What do you mean by more?
Presents.
Technically, they've spent more resources and traded them for unnecessary shit.
All right, we're moving on from this because you're wrong and I'm right.
I just want to say I appreciate the fact that you're at the right stance of the argument. And
you are on this side.
Stance.
Well, this is where the argument is going.
The tables turned, and I'm all for it.
Oh, you're such a hateful person.
I am.
Canada.
No,
Texas.
Just Toronto.
Okay, Toronto, Texas, and now it's fucking Die Hard.
Yeah.
How can you hate Bruce Willis?
Like, no, I like Bruce Willis.
The movie is good.
Bruce Willis said it's not a Christmas movie.
Well,
the star of the movie said it's not a Christmas movie.
I think it doesn't matter because it's just a matter of opinion if it's Christmas movie or not.
Well, your opinion's wrong.
It's not like it's.
It's the same.
I don't think it's in the genre of
Christmas. With GIF or GIF, and the people being like, "Oh, well, whoever made it says it's pronounced this way," and then everyone's like, "Yeah, you're wrong."
In Latvian, it's GIF, so.
So KC Babe is asking, did they talk about Ryu Shehan? Where do you think he'll end up? The rumor is Vancouver Titans, along with Fisher. But yes, we did talk about that earlier in the episode. And I don't know if that's gonna...
trolling. Okay. Never mind, I read the chat.
Mulf in chat actually asked.
Mulf was...
He's one of the guys who was playing for NOS. He's one of the NOS. He wants to be... I'll tell the big one from Team NOS. So Mulf gets mad. No, actually, the best player itself, I'm not sure. I have a couple of best players. When I coach, I have after working a bit with the player, you kind of have gut feeling of is he mentally and mechanically strong enough to make it actually climb the ranks. Let's call it that way. Molfig was one of the guys in the list. Sorry.
Which is why he brought it up.
Yeah, he wanted me to tell him, but we are friendly. I like to troll him, make him mad. But there's
now
couple
who's
of people...
the angry, bitter one?
He, not me. I don't care. I'm just trolling him. He knows it. But he needs to work on diva bombs. That's why. If he does that, he'll be my favorite, the strongest, best player I've worked with. But so you have this feeling that he's gonna make it, and there are a couple of players that have made it. Molfig is one of them. I worked with Hadi. He's also in British Hurricane. I also I worked with. I was like, this guy is gonna probably go in place. And there's been a couple of that have either retired or not made it yet because of some issues they have in the head. Because I see the potential, they probably don't they haven't actually accepted it and kind of went with it. But yeah, probably those are the strongest ones, I'll say.
All right, well, I know we are nearing 2.5 hours at this point, so should probably close things out for tonight. So with that being said, I do want to thank you again at GGMentality for stepping in for a couple hours this very early morning for you in this case.
Oh, it's just 5:30. Don't worry. I'm not gonna go to bed anyways. Might as well go for an extra 1.5 hours.
I don't know if we can go that far.
I'm trolling. So.
I mean, I have to stream in like 25 minutes.
Oh, I
Oh,
thought
okay.
you were supposed to start streaming a half hour ago.
No, way to
you
fail time
you're one of
zones.
those fancy guys who has a schedule and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually when I'm stream, I'm like, fuck, I need to make some content. Let's review a game.
Absolutely. So with that being said, let's close out the show for tonight. So if you guys want to help us out, we are always looking for any sort of feedback or constructive criticism in the form of reviews. We prefer you send them over in iTunes just because that gives us the most visibility on that front, but we can get them from the other podcatchers since we do the My Podcast reviews. So let us know how we're doing so we can improve the show for a better listening experience. We also have Overwatch Recall, which is our Overwatch content hub, which is like a podcast directory. And then every Sunday night, we do the weekly recall, which lists all of the podcast episodes released from the prior week. So check that out on our website. And of course, if you'd like to support our network further, you can do a couple of different things. We do stream our shows on Twitch, so any sort of Twitch Prime subs that are thrown our way are greatly appreciated. Same with the Tier 1 subs. Then we also have our Patreon at patreon.com/OWLnetwork, where we have tiers starting at just $1 a month. So you too can join the likes of our Master and Above patrons, Blaze and Bob, Brendan, Josabal, Owl, and Kesha in helping our network grow. So go check that out. But Ed, why don't you go ahead and let our listeners know how they can contact us on the social media?
Right. So you can reach us through email at hndoverwatch@gmail.com. We are on Twitter, and that's at hndoverwatch. We do have a website that we post all our stuff at, and that's owlnshow.com. We do have a YouTube channel, and that's youtube.com/Overwatch League Network. We are on Discord, so you can come over there, talk with us, have fun arguments with me at discord.me/OWLnshow. We are streaming presently live on Twitch at twitch.tv/OWLnshow, so we are a Twitch affiliate. So help the show, support the show by subscribing to our channel and earn our network emoticon. We do stream pretty regularly. So on Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific, we have the Overwatch League Network. On Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, during the Overwatch League season, we have OWL by the Numbers, which is our fantasy Overwatch podcast. And then we have this show, which airs Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific for Heroes Never Die. And then host streams, when available, run on a flex schedule, so be sure to follow us to be notified when they go live. And then, as Totem had said, we if you want to help support the show even further, you can go over to patreon.com/OWLnetwork. You can reach me personally on Twitter, and that's at @EdinarOverwatch. Totem, where can they find you?
Well, I'm also on Twitter at TumblyDrunkCTR. And since I am streaming more regularly on Twitch, it is at twitch.tv/TumblyDrunk. But GGMentality, why don't you go ahead and let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you at this point? I know you do have a Twitter.
Yeah, I recently started to use it. got scolded from people that I don't use it, but I should. Yeah, you can reach me at GGMentality LV, like Latvia LV, on Twitter. Follow the DMs are open. Whatever. Send me a message if you want something. Private coaching, any help with teams, or like just regular questions. I'm all yours when I'll be able to answer. You can also find me on Discord. I think the hashtag 7012 GGMentality in the front. What's the tag? You'll find me. I'm around on Discords. Just Google. Yeah.
Alright, so with that being said, guys, that will do it for us here tonight on Heroes Never Die. This has been episode number 185. I don't know, I've lost track. That seems right. And that is. Alright. But we will see you guys back tomorrow night, probably for our next host stream, where we'll probably be trying to knock out our 9 wins for the Mercy Recall Challenge. But thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight, and we will see you back for our next show. Take care, and have a good night.
Have a good one.